Pastor James from the Table Church. Hi, this is your small group recap. I'm so blessed that you are meeting to talk about this stuff, figuring out how to learn more about one another and grow closer to Jesus. And so, we're focusing on the ships of our life through a series called Ship Shape. And this week we did leadership. Here's kind of some of the opening thoughts we had about this. It's a major part of any organized life, but the bad news is twofold. One, we're losing trust in our traditional leaders. And then also, we are fairly reluctant to step into leadership ourselves. We told two stories to kind of help us understand the good news of what Jesus has to teach us about leadership. One is from John 13. Jesus washes his disciples' feet. And then the other one is the disciples are arguing about who's the greatest, and Jesus teaches them about greatness, saying that the one who is least among us is the greatest. The leader should be the one of who's the servant of all. And both of these stories take place around communion, around the Last Supper, around Jesus's Eucharistic celebration. And the first point we wanted to talk about was that all of us are called to leadership somewhere. And I'm taking this from Jesus's command down there at the bottom that just as Jesus has done, he expects us to do. And so Jesus is calling us to do what he did and to lead and to influence in ways that he did in the world. And so we tried to define leadership as influence. Leadership is influence. We wanted to correct some of our thinking about what leadership is. Standing on a stage, motivating or manipulating people. Really, it's about our influence, who we are helping to lead, guide, point to. That really is leadership in the biblical sense. And then we moved on to a deeper point, which is that we all have influence somewhere. And once we understand what leadership is, influence, the question becomes not am I a leader, but who am I influencing and how am I influencing them? And so the question for us in our small group is, where are some of your areas of influence? And maybe the examples include children, spouses, family, work, coworkers, church, bowling team, etc., friends. But we would love for you to tell us, where are some of your areas of influence? And it can be even some of the things that we just listed. Point number 2 that we would like to talk about as the area of leadership is that kingdom greatness comes through humility and service, which is different than how the world talks about leadership. Jesus says, the greatest among you must become like a person of lower status, and the leader like a servant. A leader like a servant. Jesus not only commands us all to leadership somewhere through our influence, but makes it about humble and helpful service to others. This is kingdom greatness. This is leadership in the kingdom. And so the question here for us tonight is, when we talk about humility, who in your life is the first person to come to mind and why? And then maybe secondarily, would you consider them a leader? Lastly, the last point, what do we do with our hands? How do we lead? Jesus asks us to follow his lead. The way that Jesus led is the way that Jesus expects us to exert our influence or lead in the world. He says, I've given you an example, just as I have done, you also must do. And then Jesus also says, so which one is greater, the one who's seated at the table or the one who serves the table? Isn't the one seated at the table? Yet here I am among you as one who serves. And so our question for this point is, if our goal is to influence others like Jesus, what areas of your life is Jesus working on? In other words, similarly worded, where is Jesus helping you grow right now and how you relate to others? Thank you so much for meeting. I hope you have an incredible time together, learning more about each other, applying the sermon to your life, helping you relate to Jesus in a different way. Bless you all, praying for you all. Peace.